Do you like Animal Crossing? Or Harvest Moon? Or Minecraft or Terraria? The short of this review is that Stardew Valley is like all those games melded into one, for better or for worse. Stardew Valley begins by showing you what a terrible life you lead. You work for Joja, a giant unspecified corporation, where you share a workroom full of cubicles with cocaine cowboys and dusty skeletons. You feel empty inside, and so you open a letter you received from your grandfather, and inside the envelope is the deed to his old farm. So you leave the city to get away from the routine of working hard to buy stuff you don't really need, to move to Stardew Valley where you'll work hard to buy stuff you don't really need. Okay, the main point of this move is to work in the peaceful countryside and build up your family farm. During this journey, you'll interact with the easygoing townsfolk, take on quests from these townsfolk in order to improve your relationships with them and possibly ask for their hand in marriage, and explore the mysterious valley. To begin, your farm is pretty pathetic. You'll have to get everything back into shape and figure out a plan to start making money. Stardew Valley gives you a few different options on how to achieve that. The first option is to grow crops. Some crops grow quicker than others, and some can only be grown in a specific season. You see, Stardew Valley actually has a time system. There are 4 seasons in a year, and each season lasts a month, so a year in the game is only 4 months long. Each day lasts 24 minutes, but since you can sleep for roughly 6 minutes of that, you'll only be playing for about 15 minutes per day in-game. It's important to water your crops every day for them to grow, and you'll have to go around to each crop and splash some water on it. If growing crops isn't your idea of fun, then you also have the option to become a fisherman. This was the route I chose, and while it didn't supply me with so much money that I could buy anything I wanted, fishing is both simple and fun. You cast your line into the water, and when you get a bite, you enter a minigame where you have to keep a bar underneath the fish. Do it long enough and the fish is yours. Treasure chests also pop up from time to time in the minigame, and if you can catch both the fish and the chest, you could be in for some nice surprises. Or you could be in for a bunch of stones. It's a random deal. You can sell the fish for profit, or you can use the fish for an energy boost by eating them. You'll have an energy bar which refills every day, and you have to remember to keep an eye on it while you're exerting yourself. If the bar gets depleted and you aren't near your farm, you could collapse and have to be brought back to your house by some good citizen, who will then charge you a good amount of money for their kind deed. Seriously, I lost thousands of dollars by passing out. If fishing isn't your thing, you can opt to hit the mines and find rare rocks, minerals, to sell to the smith. You'll find geodes containing minerals, which must be broken by the smith, and he'll also charge you $25 per geode. The townsfolk are just like you, trying to make a buck any way they can. They have jobs they go to, and some even change outfits for their jobs. You can also donate minerals to the museum, which is exactly like donating stuff to Blathers in Animal Crossing. The museum curator will give you rewards from time to time for bringing these minerals in, but for the most part, it's not worth it. I still couldn't help my collector tendencies and found myself giving the museum every new mineral I discovered. But back to the mines. You'll have several floors to explore, and while the layout of each floor is the same every time, the ladders down to the next floor are randomized. You'll have to either defeat enemies on that floor or break rocks in order to find where the ladder is located. There are also elevators that show up every 5th floor that act as checkpoints. Once you discover an elevator, you can then ride the elevator to whichever floor has a stop. This means that you'll have to explore the caves for a little bit each day to get further down. You'll have to keep the time in mind because Stardew Valley forces you to return home each evening. If you stay out too late, the helpful folks who rescue you when your energy is depleted will find you and take you home. And no, they will not consider IOUs. You gotta pay up. The caves are located next to the Adventurers Guild, which is a shop where you can buy weapons and armor and get rewards for defeating certain amounts of particular enemies. The enemies in the game consist of things like slimes, bugs, dust balls, cave golems, and more. The deeper you go into the mines, the tougher the enemies are, and the better the loot is too. However, breaking rocks and fighting evil takes out a lot of energy. Going into the caves requires the most amount of preparation. You'll need to bring along food or drinks to replenish your energy. You'll also need to bring torches and make sure that you're fully equipped to face the new, stronger enemies as you push forward. There's no doubt that the game looks like Terraria, but it also plays like Terraria when it comes to combat. Now, I'm not a big fan of Terraria overall, and that's for many reasons, but the combat is a big reason. I do like the combat in Stardew Valley more than I do in Terraria, but not by much. I missed my swing about 40% of the time, and it often seemed like it wasn't responding the way I wanted it to. That goes for mining and cutting as well. My mind wants to believe that my swing will happen in the direction my character is facing, but if your mouse is just a hair off, your character will turn their body and swing somewhere else. It's aggravating, considering how much you have to swing in Stardew Valley. But no matter what you choose to do, you'll be able to level up each individual skill just by doing that skill. Rewards for leveling up usually consist of a boost in HP or energy, and the ability to craft new items. Yes, there is crafting in Stardew Valley, though it's not as involved as, say, Minecraft. As your character levels up, they unlock new recipes. There's no placing ingredients into a crafting square. You simply take the ingredients needed to craft the item and have them in your inventory. The craftable item will light up, and you'll click on it to bring it into the world. I didn't craft too many items in my time with the game, but it was nice to be able to move items around and really make the home and the farm it sits on my own. There are not only practical items to craft, but decorative ones as well. You'll soon run out of room in your tiny house though, so earning enough money to expand my house has been my main goal. Throughout the year in the game, you can check out the town board to see when the birthdays are of all the townspeople, as well as special days and events. The events range from egg festivals to luau's to flower dances, and these special events, they're really not much, but they are nice to see. Earlier, I said that you could build relationships up enough to even get married. In my experience, building a relationship was very difficult. All people didn't appreciate my gift of delicious seaweed and rather rudely played it off. I targeted the person that I eventually wanted to marry. I then went through low moments like her turning me down at the flower dance, to high points like me giving her a strawberry, which she got way too excited for, and then back down to low moments like when I gave her a bomb for her birthday and she just kind of blew it off. Anyway, you could also achieve same-sex relationships, so that's pretty cool, given Nintendo's stance in the past on such things. That's what's great about indie games like Stardew Valley. They're free to do what they see fit. Stardew Valley looks like a game from the Super Nintendo era, and there's really not a whole lot of action packed into this game, but that's why I love it. Had this come out back in the Super Nintendo days, this would have been my favorite game. It's not as cute or funny as Animal Crossing, and it's really not a pioneer like Harvest Moon was, but Stardew Valley takes most of what made those games great and deep and puts it all in one awesome package. That's not to say Stardew Valley is without its faults. There are a few bugs in the game, but not too many. I saw items being incorrectly represented, a piece of coal showing up as a strawberry for example, and I did have the game crash on me once playing the Robotron style arcade game in the saloon. The combat is something that I can do without, and after 12 hours I did feel a strong repetitiveness with the game. However, if you're someone who likes to take how much time you can get out of a game into consideration when you're looking to spend your money, then there's no question that Stardew Valley is worth the small $15 asking price. It would take me another 30 plus hours to get to year 2 in the game, and even then, the game foreshadowed stuff that would happen in year 3. Obviously, the developers put a ton of time into making sure that Stardew Valley is a game that you'll be playing for years to come. And even if you get all the way to the end of the game, which I don't even know if there is an end to the game, you can always start a new character and do everything differently. The mysteries of Stardew Valley lurk under the foliage of the farmland, under the salty seas of the ocean, and deep within the caves. The game is absolutely mind-blowing when you try to think of how many hours you could put into the game. Some people prefer a more compact, action-filled 6-hour game, and Stardew Valley would probably not be for them. However, Stardew Valley is a great game to play while you put on a podcast or some music. I found it very easy to switch between my browser and the game at will, something not every game is great for. There are also a spread of options that will please most everyone. I honestly could keep going on and on about Stardew Valley. 12 hours is a good amount of time to put into any game, and I've seen so much in Stardew Valley, but I also feel like I've barely scratched the surface. You can raise animals, cook meals, watch TV, and there's even some otherworldly stuff that happens that I won't spoil. And that's why I'll be revisiting Stardew Valley in a few months to update this review. There is apparently going to be some multiplayer added in the future, but I'm not sure exactly what that will be. For now, Stardew Valley reminds me of so many great games from the past, and yet it's really the complete package I've been seeking all this time. The game even reminds me of The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, which is my favorite Zelda game ever. It's charming as heck and incredibly deep. Hopefully this game will come to consoles and handheld soon, because it's really a game that everyone should check out, and I think this would be really nice on my PlayStation Vita. Until then, if you have a decent computer at home, I highly recommend taking a look at Stardew Valley. I give it 4.5 stars out of 5.